Good evening. Welcome to Brook Township meeting. Today is March 13th, 7 p.m. We all rise and pledge the flag, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know she was good. It's not good. Oh, please, with the suits.
Okay. First announcement is we have Scott Phillipson in the back corner who is putting tonight's meeting on YouTube. Thank you, Scott. And the meeting is also on the Zoom platform. Next, we have open forum on action items. That means anything that's on the agenda. And it's limited to 3 minutes. Does anyone on the right-hand side of the room, from my perspective, have anything they'd like to say? Erin?
Good evening. First, I wanted to point out, I think there's a mistake on your agenda under item 3. Under the consent agenda, it says accept the February 24th executive assistant report, but the link is to the manager's report. Yeah.
I just noticed that, so I printed it out. I will read it to you all.
Yeah, I just wanted
reading.
to.
Thank you.
Also, I just wanted to say thank you for making the full agenda available to the public with the links. I think it goes a long way to help keep the public informed of what's going on in the township, even if they are unable to attend meetings. In reviewing the last 2 months' treasurer reports, I had a couple questions regarding the checking account detail report. On the report, there's a column for type, date, number, name, memo, debit, credit, balance. My question is, why is the memo column empty in most cases? In particular, when there's a payment to a vendor, there's no reference as to what the payment is for, and often when there's a deposit, it just says deposit. So unless the report I'm looking at is different from what you're looking at, I've been a treasurer before, I've been a manager before. Like if somebody gave me a treasurer's report and it didn't say what the checks were for, I would ask them to fix that. So you can actually see what the payments are for on treasurer's report. So there's a space for memo, and the treasurer doesn't put anything in it. So if it were me, I would ask her to start including a memo for all of the payments and deposits as to what exactly they're for.
When we sign the checks, we have the attached bill, so we can see what the payments are for.
Okay. Additionally, I wanted to let you know that as a member of the Planning Commission, I attended, along with Valerie, a free local government 201 course on Saturday, February 24th from 8 a.m. to 2:30 at the Chester County Public Safety Training Campus in Hosp. It was hosted by the Western Chester County Chamber of Commerce. It was well attended and provided a wealth of information about the operations of local government. There were several speakers who talked about topics such as the role of local government, employee management, policies and procedures, employment law, how to lower the risk of costly lawsuits, financial administration, budget preparation, financial reports, sunshine law, competitive bidding, zoning ordinance, multi-municipal planning, public works, etc. I got a lot of information from the session, and if any of the supervisors or Warren are interested in finding out more about what I learned that day, I'd be happy to share it with them. And I would also encourage anybody on any of the commissions to attend one of those meetings. It was close to home, and it was free, and it was on a Saturday. So,
If you want to talk about it at the end, close of the meeting, I'll be happy to talk to you about it.
yeah, I'm just going to share. I got a lot of good information. Like I said, it was free. They gave us lunch, breakfast. So it was well worth it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Anyone on this side of the room? Valerie?
Sure, Valerie Schultz, 165 Caitlin Court. I have a question about the Tel Hai development plan. and it says in the Technicon report that a traffic study had been submitted, and it was deemed that there would be minimal impact on the roadway, so no roadway improvements were warranted. Was this traffic study conducted prior to the decision to put the EMS facility at their site? And has that been considered in this traffic assessment? And also, it's my understanding that there was an accident back in like 2010 or 2008 when 2 individuals were killed and 2 others were injured. And that Tel Hai was informed after that incident that there would have to be some kind of traffic light or something there, some flashing light to ask people to slow down because there's kind of a blind curve when you go around. So I was just wondering about, why it was deemed that there was no possible road improvements that needed to be done.
I can't, I'm not prepared to give you an answer. I don't know that off the top of my head.
But you guys will be approving, you'll be voting on that development plan tonight?
Yeah.
It's on the agenda. I mean,
Okay. Will we
maybe there can be discussion as appropriate when we get that. I can get our representatives here, so.
Okay. Yeah, it would be good to know if the EMS location there was considered in that, and whether it's been determined that, because my understanding is Bertel floods a lot, and if you put an EMS facility down there and it's flooded, and they have to respond to the far end of the township, they're now going to have to go all the way into Honeycomb and around, so that could be a serious concern. So I hope that we can address that during the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Does anyone else from this side of the room have anything they'd like to say? No? Okay, we'll go over to the consent agenda.
Point of order. We did not receive the EMS report, so any motion I would recommend be for items 1 through 13 only, if you wish to approve the entire consent agenda.
Do I hear a motion to approve items 1 through 13?
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item F, Department Reports. Don Johnson.
I got a couple things.
Yeah, the whole thing, sure, go ahead.
Quick food pantry update, 26% year-over-year increase. If I'm understanding correctly, they received a $9,500 grant to increase their fridge and freezer space capacity. And also, they're doing the Easter dinner handouts on March 23rd. Also, Anchor Ministries do a lot for the community. If anybody's interested in that, Anchor Ministries is taking donations for stuff to put in Easter baskets for the kids. Earth Day. Earth Day rally celebration on April 20th, Chester County Courthouse. Some fun stuff they got going on there. 3 p.m. rally feature. 4:15, former mayor Valerie will lead a march, and then 4:30, keynote speaker and some additional celebration. Chamber of Commerce, March 23rd from 10 to 3 p.m. Octorara High School. They're doing like a home lifestyle show, so for a lot of people, a lot of businesses in the area, landscape, that type of stuff. You can go there, it's kind of like a mini home show. And then last reports, COG, they're working on, and I believe they should have sent out, I don't know if you received them yet, on the trash. So they're working on, I think they finalized the letters for the intent of the trash. trash. We're also starting to create intent letters for animal control. And they updated and got their website up and running. And I believe the next meeting is at West Brain. Sorry.
Thank you. Next would be Don Johnson, our Public Works Director, but I don't think he's here.
He's not, but he gave me some items to report. A new roof has been installed on the pavilion at the park. The Public Works staff did that. They will be putting down mulch at the playground as soon as the ground is drier. Trash cans will be installed along the walking trail. And otherwise, the crew has been fixing yard areas that were damaged by plowing from our snow events that we actually had this year, and fixing road berms. So that's what they've been up to and what they're continuing to do.
Thank you, Kristy. Actually, you're next for executive session.
Yes, I apologize. I didn't realize until just before the meeting that I had put the manager's report twice. So. The partnership met on its regular meeting date, February 20. They were finalizing up details for the winter social, which was on the 29th. And it was at that meeting that $7,500 was presented from the partnership to various community organizations, Steeple of People Thrift Shop, Steeple of People Youth Group, the Honeybrook Food Pantry, Boy Scout Troop 9, Honeybrook Fire Company, the American Legion Wawassan Post number 651, the Honeybrook Women's Club, the Honeybrook Lions Club, the Honeybrook Community Library, and the Tel Hai Camp for a defibrillator. All of those funds came from the partnership's fundraising efforts, which, as you may or may not know, is from sponsorships at Harmony Day each year. The social was well attended with about 50 guests, including our supervisors, and they were very excited to have everybody there. The next partnership meeting is next week, and I will have the report of that meeting at the April meeting. Supervisors received a lovely note from the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture regarding their support for Act 18 of 2023, the Dog Law Modernization Act. This was an agenda item last June. The board authorized Warren to sign a letter of support for the act, which was signed into law in October. The law took effect last month, and the letter and a summary of the act were part of the agenda packet. Note that Honeybrook Township was one of only 2 municipalities in the entire Commonwealth that openly supported that act. So it includes licensing fee increases and things like that. You also received information from the Honeybrook Food Pantry, which Sal went over. Lastly, be reminded that the township offices will be closed on Friday, March 29, which is Good Friday. And that is my report.
Thank you. Next would be Warren Abensky, our township manager.
As usual, just ask the board to accept my written report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now or at any time if you have questions directly to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Honeybrook Community Library.
So do we have anybody from there today? We did not receive a report.
Land Preservation Committee.
I don't see anybody from land preservation. I don't think we have a report yet. I don't believe we've gotten the review from the county for the 4 applications that have come in for land preservation as of yet. So still no movement on that.
Okay, thank you. And Planning Commission.
I believe there are a couple of planning commissioners present tonight. As of now, your agenda obviously reflects recommendations that are forwarded from the planning commission from last month for your consideration later in the meeting. As of now, I don't believe we have any business. submissions for the next planning commission from the state right now. So I have nothing else to report unless you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. And Parks and Rec, you want to make some comments?
Yeah, if you want. Good evening, supervisors. Steve Longnecker, 1545 Walnut Road. Just a couple things to go over what we've been into. In our trails discussions, we took a tour of what is known as the Brook track is part of the Pennsylvania State Forest. It's off of Route 10, just north of Mill Road. They've done a conversion of the old campground and are preserving it, continue to be what's known as a state park, or I'm sorry, a state forest, not a state park. Part of the action items that we have addressed there, as 40 acres reside in Brook Township. We take it very serious that it is an opportunity to have a passive recreational use, so that could be pedestrian, as far as horseback riding, hunting, biking. Those are kind of things that are going to be implemented there. On March 21st, we're going to bring in Rick Hartley. He's Assistant Director of Forestry for the state. Hopefully some of our supervisors should possibly attend just to hear what he has to say. Regarding Humboldt Park, some discussions. We submitted a letter to the supervisors with a recommendation of priorities. Happy to hear that the voting roof took place and trash cans making their way out, and so we'd like to keep our parks clean. On top of that, we mentioned the disc golf course, just something again to add to the amenities there at Humboldt. We are looking at potentially putting out a survey to our constituent bases within Brook Township to kind of weigh in what they'd like to see from the parks. Some suggestions that came from our end of things were the continued walking trail storybook, a summer series with a movie night, which possibly could be in conjunction with Valley Baseball Association's concession stands. Additional just mentioned items, talk about a kids park day, just touching on things that potentially we want to, dabble with a little bit, and then potentially like a CSA or a pollinator garden, just to kind of add a little diversity to our landscape. Other than that, we're happy to be a part. Thank you.
Thank you for all your time. Thank you for your report. Okay, item G, new business. Approve or not approve a list of bills for payments as prepared by the treasurer. Any motion?
Take the motion.
All in favor?
I'll second. In favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Item 2, adopt or not adopt resolution 2024-11, approving and amending the Northwestern Chester County Municipal Authority Articles of Incorporation. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution.
Oh, sorry, adopt. I hear a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Item 3, authorize or not authorize the Board of Supervisors to enter into a contract with the Trinity Valley Baseball Association, EVPA, for calendar year 2024.
And for the board's information, the president would like to kind of speak a little bit about what the organization does and how it benefits the residents.
Sure.
of the township. Dan, would you like to?
Good evening. Dana Scott, I'm the president of Twin Valley Baseball Association. Reside at 45 Woodland Drive, Huntington, PA. Basically, I want to know if the board had any direct questions of what baseball programs we, provide to the community.
I know, yeah.
No? Okay.
No, we were in Twin Valley Little League at one point.
Yeah. So we offer a variety of t-ball, baseball ages 7 through 19, softball typically ages 7 through 13.
Do you know how many residents are participating in the league?
I don't have for 2024, but for 2023, it broke out about 62% of our members were Honeybrook addresses.
And how many communities, how many municipalities do you?
Should be 3.
3. So it's more than 60% come from our township.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
How's your volunteer? How's your help?
It varies. Coaching can sometimes be an issue, getting enough coaches for, just for the number of teams we have. Steve's actually, not on the board, but he is a member of the coach. He takes care of the grounds and facilities. The snack stand is always an issue. It's been an issue for years, getting people to volunteer and participate in the snack stand. We struggle through it. Yeah, I don't think I can elaborate on baseball.
So, cost that you pass on to the people.
Yes,
So, it's my understanding that currently this contract charges the Baseball Association for use of sewer, water, power, dumpsters during their season, and do I assume that cost gets passed on to?
every cost that we incur from the township is passed directly to membership.
And do you think that reduces the amount of people that can participate?
I believe it does. I mean, I don't know the gross median income for a resident in Honeybrook Township, but I know I've talked to quite a few parents this year, and our prices have escalated, from 2022 to 2023 to 2024. Not solely due to a bill or a cost associated with the township, but, our general economy right now, I think people are, to be able to afford to pay $100 to $225 for their child to play baseball or softball, maybe, cutting into their food budget or cutting into, basic necessities that they have.
What is the cost?
It varies. T-ball's $105. All our softball programs, we keep it $105 to try to generate more interest in softball. As the ages go up, the rookies division's, I think, $135. You get up into the minors, which is 9 to 10-year-olds, you're $160. You move up to $170 with 12-year-olds, and then the 13 to 18 baseball programs vary a little bit depending upon what league they play, but they could be upwards of $350.
How much does the township's bill to you add in general?
About $24.75 a player is what I broke it out to be. So that's every member of this year. For the spring registration, we're at 208 players right now. Our total registration isn't closed. The 13 to 18 group is still open for registration, so we'll think we'll be around 240 to 245. But, I mean, it is a direct impact. There's Honeybrook Township without a lot of corporate sponsorship. Donations are down. Last year, 2023 from 2022, they were down. They're down again this year. Honeybrook Township itself isn't a huge mecca of business or, corporations that would, donate money. So technically, my wife broke it out. It was around 92% of all our monies are paid for by our membership. So every bill we pay, every uniform we buy, all that is on 92% without the membership money. The other 8% is donations, or we do spirit wear drives, we do fundraisers, we do what we can to, generate more revenue and offset the cost to the players and their families.
So if you ask the board to waive the cost, that would have to try to pass down.
Yes, 100%. And I know we're looking, and one thing that was, as I took the presidency of the league in 2023, and looking back to the records, there was a few electric bills, there wasn't a very consistent tier of payments we made to the township for any services. So obviously when we budget the next year, we're looking at next year's bills. And last year we got hit with the $3,200 bill for trash removal, septic, water, none of those were paid that I can find in our records paid in advance. So obviously we took a loss right there. If we don't budget for it, we're going to take a loss because our margins are very very slim. And then this year we had a $5,000
For last year's service.
for last year's service.
Because which cost went up for us as well.
Yes, Warren and I did speak, we reduced that a little bit, we're working with Warren to find some cost savings, just so the township's not out money either. And we feel we found some, but still, that $3,000, I think I'm looking at a bill for 2023 of $43.78. So it's definitely an impact to our.
So I don't think David knows how to ask, but I think he's asking if we could sign the contract and potentially waive somewhere else the financial costs associated with it. And, prior to my tenure, prior manager had been working for years to sign a contract. That did not actually start, so that's probably why Damon's baseball association and the previous association didn't have any bills to utilize for forward budgeting. Again, the township has the ability to cover those costs. Other residents do use those parks 24/7, so if it's up to the board's decision, I would support that the township could not bill for services.
What was the total for last year?
For 2023 services, after Warren and I went over the bill, we're at $4,378.74.
So that's utility, so that's gonna be for electricity, sewer. We had been renting 2 dumpsters, one just for recycling, which we got rid of this year. We accidentally did charge them for the porta potties because they do have access to the in-house bathrooms. But again, costs are still coming up for services. So, and again, they do well, they do maintenance on the ball fields, so they are good stewards to the park.
Yes, all the field prep is done by our staff as far as maintaining, making sure the field is ready for the kids, making sure they're in safe condition. All the lining in the fields, covers all those costs.
Is that something that we want to talk about right now? Just to waive the cost, and then will we be talking about waiving it for 1 year, or?
You can just make a motion to accept the contract and exclude any bills from the township. And if you want to excuse prior balances, there's no issue with that, because those bills have already been paid by the township. So we take a look, we pay all the bills throughout the year, and at the end of it, the treasurer staff and I work to see what bills get parsed out for that. Okay.
Were you talking about waiving last year's fees or proactively that we would have been into the draft contract? for
Well, those,
H2, which is reimbursement.
so
You
those,
could approve this going forward with the caveat that you remove the section about reimbursement.
correct. So that's both. You can either, because you paid 2023, but you did not, I'm sorry, you paid 2022s and 2023.
Yes.
You have yet to pay last year's.
Yes, I'm looking at it right now, and I could, if the board sees fit, I'll bring a check tomorrow to make sure we're current with the township. That's not an issue. But for our membership and, the rising costs we'll be looking at in 2025, not having to factor in that $4,000 to $5,000 from the township would definitely, because really all we're doing is we're taking your money and then upping the cost of your residents to play on those fields.
So best point would be just to make the motion on what's in front of us, and then if we want to,
Yeah, because a waiver of already due charges under the prior contract is on the agenda. I don't think we used to add that because it's financial in nature. So I would recommend moving that onto next month's agenda to take formal action on if you're interested in doing that, rather than here tonight. But I think, to the extent a new contract for next year, you could amend it with changes that you want. Based, to the document as proposed.
Okay, what if Parks and Rec did have a movie night and want to use the concession stand?
Wouldn't be a problem at all. I mean, I have a mock schedule. Most of our baseball scheduling takes place over the next 2 weeks, so I'll give an official every day, this is what we're going to be here scheduled. But we'll move our games, we'll make sure the park's ready for venues, especially 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, or not.
well, I think they were thinking in conjunction with the baseball, like, having you guys there, maybe you can fundraise while doing movie night, not excluding your use, but typically you have use of the concession stand,
Yes.
again, because you have food licensing, the ability to let outside agencies come in and use it.
Oh, sure.
So if you participate with Parks and Rec, then maybe that,
Definitely, yeah, we would definitely look to do that.
Is there any other contracts, users,
What's it?
any other users?
Oh, the concession stand is
Just a few.
nope, we have no contracts with any other participants, and just for the township's understanding, if someone wishes to reserve the pavilion, we take a $100 refundable deposit. So we don't charge for services except for with the baseball association.
How do you calculate it with the electric, water, sewer, based on the number of days they use?
So it starts when opening day is, and it goes until their season
Oh, so it's
concludes.
the full bill for that entire portion of the year?
Correct.
And it's the full trash removal, and we're paying for the dumpsters, whether it's our trash or the guy that lives across the street.
You're not there all day.
Yeah, we're not really monitoring anything.
think that's,
Yes.
Okay, do I hear a motion to put on to next month's agenda, the financial piece that would forgive the past bills?
Yes, I will make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then do I hear a motion to approve the contract as written?
Do you want to
as
remove?
written,
Or,
or
I'm sorry,
As
removal
written.
of the
with removal
I'm not
of,
telling you what to do.
Yeah,
That's
no, I
agreement
just-
should be
right.
subject to removing section H2 reimbursement provision.
okay, with removal of section H2, the reimbursement provision.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Thank
for your time.
Thank you for you guys too.
Okay, item 4. Land development from Tel Hai, which I believe we have some gentlemen here to speak.
All right, good luck. Good morning. I brought my other one out just in case, so just go down. Good evening, my name is Alex Gill, I'm with RGS Associates. With me this evening is Dave Shank and Scott Burkholder from Tel Hai LD. We are here this evening for the residential ambulance and nursing project that's proposed at Tel Hai. This is another expansion, a proposed expansion of the community that has been worked through over the last several years with the township as far as the planning agreement between Tel Hai and the township. That process was concluded last year, and with that, we moved into land development plan preparation and submitted to the township. My intent here, I'll run through kind of the program, just give orientation to the board, to what's proposed, and then we can talk through any items related to the review letter that we received from Pakistan on the land development plan, as well as for the draft. So, just for orientation, Beaver Dam Road here along the bottom of the sheet, running east-west, north-south is Park Road. The highlighted area here is Tel Hai, which is approximately 150 acres. Coming into the campus, there are 3 points of access. Tel Hai Circle, Tree Line Drive, both on Beaver Dam. And then there is an agreement with the farm to the north for an emergency access drive that runs across the north side of the property and provides access into the community in that location as well. That's not used on a daily basis, that's intended for emergency services use only. So moving into the campus, this is the main drive, Tel Hai Circle. The first item that's part of the proposed project is the proposed ambulance building that was noted earlier. That's located here right off of Tel Hai Circle, across from the existing main entrance to the building here. Just south of that, this dark brown area here is the proposed nursing wing. So the nursing wing itself is replacement of existing portion of the skilled nursing at Tel Hai. This would include 64 skilled nursing beds, which actually would be reducing the number of existing nursing beds at the community. Moving up through the campus on the north side of the bridge, located here, these would be additional cottages. They're in the open space area that's adjacent to the pavilion, community garden area. These would be consistent with the existing cottages throughout the campus. So they're using the same models, cottage models, for the additional that are proposed as part of this project. Continuing north on Tree Line Drive, and then moving on to Rolling Hill Circle. Here are 4 more cottages that are proposed along Rolling Hill Circle. Just to the south of that is a 42-unit apartment building that has not been built. That was part of actually the original master plan, but that's been carried over as part of this project. And then coming around to the south on Rolling Hill Circle, additional cottages along the frontage of Rolling Hill Circle. And then in this area previously on the master plan, there were 3 hybrid or garden-style apartments, ground floor parking with apartments above. That was changed to 2 18-unit buildings instead of 3 12-unit buildings. So the same number of hybrid apartments, but just between 2 buildings with the addition of the cottages in this area. As part of this project, Tel Hai, if you visited there, has an extensive trail network that would be updated to include access along what's called Drive A for these cottages, connecting along the perimeter of the community. Stormwater management would be addressed by the relocation of an existing basin here, just to the north. There would also be stormwater facilities added to the south of the nursing wing, and then some modifications to the existing basin here. So in addition to the submission of the township, we also submitted to the Conservation District PADDP for their review of the MPDS and ENS permits, which is currently underway. Water and sewer service will remain the same as it currently exists in the community, just with the exception of the extension, obviously, of mains to serve cottages on Drive A. And that is by the existing water towers and plant at the top of the ridge, as well as the existing sewer treatment plant here on the south, both of which have been upgraded over the years and have capacity to serve the entire community. One item that I'll just touch on that was brought up, I think, before it was brought up at the beginning, was the traffic study. So as part of the land development process and part of the planning process actually with the township, there was a traffic study done years ago for the community. It was agreed upon with this proposed expansion that would be updated. So that study, a new study was done. That does include the ambulance buildings and the cottages and the apartments that are noted. So all of the items takes into account everything that exists on the campus, looks at existing traffic volumes. That's done while school's in session, during weekdays, and then it adds in all the projected traffic associated with the proposed uses. Retirement communities as a whole tend to not generate as much traffic because you don't have people commuting, you don't have school-age kids, children, so you're not having those folks factor into the traffic numbers. As it relates to access with flooding, for Beaver Dam Road, we do have the 2 points of access, as I noted, along that frontage, which does vary as far as the any impact from the flooding. But in an extreme case, if there was an issue, that was factored in. And again, that's why an agreement's in place for that northern access that you can get out to Park Road and travel north. So that was included as part of the submission and then, as noted, reviewed by the traffic engineer from the township.
I have a few questions. The northern access, who maintains that? Will you guys maintain that, or a correlation with the landowner, or what's?
There's an agreement with the landowner as far as the maintenance of that to ensure that it stays in a stabilized condition for emergency services to be able to use that. I don't know exactly how that's addressed as far as the agreement with the farmer, as far as who's physically doing the maintenance. But
I think it's what I'm getting at is a snowstorm or something major, and that animal's going to travel up to that. Is that a priority to get plowed out before something else, or who's responsible? Is that you guys to make that call, or is it the landowner that makes that call?
Yeah, oh, yeah, please.
I'm Dave Shank, President at Tel Hai. We, in the agreement we signed with the Horseshoe family, that wasn't addressed per se. As a practical matter, we recently added some extra stone, dust material on top to make it better surface. And I think we contract with one of the Horseshoe family gentlemen to do snow removal on our campus, so that I know that they could also do that for us.
Is that ambulance building, is that a sign-off deal? I know one time that was consideration, is that a done deal?
So there is an agreement in the settlement agreement with the township, and correct me if I don't want to misstate this, but that the ambulance does have access to that land to put their facility in that location. So that's why it's been included as part of the land development plan, so the entitlements are in place, so they can proceed with that. Yeah, but there is.
Right. They're not gonna build it for them, but they don't have to go through land development, the ambulance company doesn't have to go through land development at that time, because they've already been accounted for.
Yeah, and there is a formal agreement as part of the settlement documents that includes that to ensure that that's the case.
Water sewer, you said you guys have the capacity of water sewer.
Yes.
Prior capacity to the new capacity, where does that, the new capacity put you at? Do you know the old compared to the new?
I don't have the exact numbers, so, but that is being analyzed. We're working with Tech Engineering, who's been serving Tel Hai on the water and sewer service. So when the water plant and tanks, as well as the sewer plant, were last upgraded, as I noted, they were upgraded beyond the capacity of what was needed for the master plan. So we actually just literally reviewed those numbers and confirmed again that everything's falling within that. Those numbers, that will be submitted to the township and the PADDP, for approval by them as well. So there will be an update to the sewage planning module to account for the ambulance and the additional cottages. And as I noted, the number of nursing beds actually is decreasing.
And then the last question I had was just your comment, reducing the number of nursing beds. So where were you and where are you going to be? What's that reduction?
Dave Shank again.
Was that your thunder? Was he was waiting for that one?
No.
I just want to make sure I don't get those numbers
Well,
wrong.
it's
I know
interesting.
Dave knows those better than I do.
Yes, and what's interesting, just in the last month, we reduced the license bed capacity from 129 to 119. We're running around 90 residents currently, and we are finding that census is continuing to decline. The length of stay in nursing centers is getting shorter and shorter, so we don't have a need for the number of beds that we have. But we also want modern, stable, private rooms and effectively, which is what this new center would be for us. So less folks, but much nicer environment.
I appreciate your answers. The only thing I ask is if you guys would put some additional detailed consideration into if that ambulance does come to fruition, that we do something a little bit more concrete for that access road. I hate to see something being held up because there was a miscommunication for Flower with a big pothole and something happened.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Would you agree to that as a condition of the approval, that if the EMS facility is built, that access will be clarified as to maintenance obligations?
Yes.
Just one quick question. On the north side of Stonecroft there, you mentioned that there was another, what is that? Like not the cottages, but that other, is that another?
That's another apartment building. So that was actually part of the original master plan. So these 42 apartments were part of that, of the original master plan, as well as the 36 hybrid apartments were also. They're just unbuilt.
It was formerly known as Phase 5, I think.
Phase 5, you were correct.
I don't have any further
Just for the board's consideration, obviously the planning commission did discuss this plan at their meeting, and they had several recommendations. There's a letter of February 23rd outlining the 7 waiver requests, and I'll just kind of briefly go over those. One is the combined preliminary and final plan approval. The second is to allow street intersection separation of 170 feet for Road A and Rolling Hill Circle at tree line. Third is to allow paving cross sections that match those approved for phases 2 through 5. The next is to allow blanket easements for access to stormwater facilities. The next is to allow less than 1 foot pipe cover stone subgrade for pipe run MH4 to EWH1, which is a replacement bypass line for upslope existing stormwater facilities. The next one is related to existing established swale to be maintained with a 6-inch freeboard versus 1 foot and 3 to 1 side slopes instead of 4 to 1. And the last is also related to the previous one about pipe cover to not match downstream pipe crowns for pipes IH24, 23, OSH10, and MH3, which are, again, replacement bypass lines for existing facilities in the development. Last recommendation is a recommendation of conditional approval, provided all items in the Technicon review letter are complied with. And just to note, Sal, just for your benefit, I know you mentioned sewer and water approvals. Those are outlined as conditions in the Technicon review letter. They have to provide that information as well. So those are the recommendations from the Planning Commission. If you have any questions, I can certainly answer those.
Thank you.
Do both the sewer, I do have a question, do both the sewer plants that goes into 2 log rundown at on the Beaver Dam side?
So the sewer, there's one sewer plant located here. There's a sewer pump station here and another sewer pump station here. So as part of the analysis that we were just discussing or reviewing with NTEC before the submission to PADEP, they did verify that both of these sewer pump stations have capacity for the additional units, and how they function. They pump up to Tree Line Drive to the crest of the ridge here, and then gravity flow down to the sewer treatment plant, and then that discharges to Two Long Road.
Okay. Thank you. And what was the second thing you said about the 2 streets that are too close together?
The street intersection separation. These are technically what we would call access roads within an existing development. If there's a new street system, there's typically an intersection spacing requirement that you have to be 200 feet separated from center line to center line for each intersection. The existing already violates this throughout the development, but the new one will actually be within 30 feet, 30 feet less at one point for one intersection.
It's the intersection of these 2 roads. One, obviously, this is as Mike noted, an internal access drive, so we don't have the volumes and speeds that you would find, on a public road. Another item here too is that we noted in the request. Rolling Hill Circle comes out to here. The majority of turns, people are coming out to Rolling Hill Circle at this point are going south to the right, because if they wanted to go to Stonecroft, they would have turned into this parking lot. So where I'm going with that is you have a limited number of left turns where you would even potentially have a conflict there.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to grant or not grant the 7 waivers listed on the PC recommendation letter dated February 23rd?
Thank you, Madam.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then the second motion would be to grant or not grant conditional preliminary final plan approval based on the Township Engineer's review letter dated February 14th, 2024.
And what's on the agenda mentions rehabilitation recommendations. I don't see that. Hang on, look at the wrong project. Sorry. I was down on number 5. Yeah, but I would say, you know, if the board, to my point earlier, they agreed that they would agree to a condition of approval, that should the EMS facility be built, they will enter an agreement with the landowner to clarify maintenance obligations and assume snow plowing as a priority on that emergency leave.
Hang on, that's only if the ambulance facility is built?
That's up to you, I mean, that's something you could discuss if you want.
Because I thought I remember when we originally talked about that, if there was some kind of a catastrophic event on Beaver Dam Road, at least you have secondary access to Tel Hai from another road, you know? So I
It's
just
to be
think it was-
maintained as an access, but
I didn't
snow
think it
plowing
was-
is not addressed in that document.
Yeah, I didn't think it was contingent on only if there was a maintenance bill.
Maintenance isn't, it has to be maintained as an access way. That's essentially what's up record currently.
Yeah, so, no, thank you for the clarification. Regardless, Tel Hai will clarify that agreement and provide that documentation to the borough, just to make sure it's clear what the maintenance and snow plowing responsibilities will be, regardless of the ambulance being constructed.
Okay.
Great. So that would be a second condition for Technicon's letter and the clarification of maintenance and stuff.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, motion to grant approval with the second condition that we just talked about, and Technicon's letter.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Item 5 on the agenda, land development number 2023-1, Calvary Chapel land development.
from a commercial building to a church for Calvary Chapel in Brook. So the plan is to expand the parking lot to accommodate the 400-person capacity of the church and install the required stormwater management features associated with it. The plan is to move the access roads off of Horseshoe Pk and onto Todd Rd. We've done a traffic study on that. I believe it will help with the traffic flows and make just the overall project work better. We did get some comments from the planning commission to include an additional center gate between parking spaces on the southern side of the building. To have a parking island in there with additional vegetation and plants. I believe everybody received the permission to conduct work inside of the building, and we're in the process of finishing up the land development portion of this.
Is the building outline itself going to stay about the same?
The only difference that is being proposed is to build a cover drop-off area different like the building here. So there's currently for the building, which will be just repurposed into a drop-off area.
And what were there for waivers?
So, again, the planning commission reviewed this at their last meeting. There were a number of waivers that were recommended for approval. Those were from driveway ordinance, allowing 8% driveway grade of the driveway. That's due to a box culvert that has to be installed midway up to continue drainage underneath the driveway to make sure that it moves from one side of the road to the other and get into the existing inlet underneath Todd Road. Second one was actually a recommendation from my review to not have curbing at the driveway entrance. There's no curbing along Todd Road, and more or less impede the drainage even further. So we're recommending that waiver be approved for no curbing at the driveway entrance. The next waiver is to not require end of bay or intermediate parking lot islands or full landscaping as required by the ordinance. Number 4 was to allow a rock apron, a 6 discharge point to fall within 25 feet of the property line. There is a discharge from one of the stormwater facilities. The requirement is 25 feet or more that the discharge happens from a property line. However, there are no improvements in that area, and it actually drains to an existing inlet along Todd Road. So we would not have any objections with that as well. There is an NPDS requirement for this, so it is going to have to go through NPDS permitting as well. So DEP ultimately has final say of the stormwater design from their aspect. I think this might have been what Beth was referring to. There is a recommendation of conditional approval based on compliance with our last review letter, and there are 3 recommendations for landscaping, for arborvitae along the northern property line, to shield buffer from adjacent dwellings on Todd Road, minimum 5-foot wide planting island with trees, double row parking on the eastern side of the building, and planting of water tolerant trees and shrubs in the stormwater facilities. So those are the recommendations from the Planning Commission. I can answer any questions you have related to my review of the recommendations.
Is adding that planning island going to change anything in stormwater wise?
It will not. Well, I mean,
You know, just in terms of layout.
it'll actually help to some degree because vegetation is actually qualified as a credit with the NPDS permit. So
I wasn't sure if the impervious total was going to shift at all, just because.
no, I mean, it could be the stormwater really gets handled regardless. It just adds some more root uptake in the vegetation. Yeah.
What about the existing access off of 322?
Yeah, that's planned to, that's one of the comments in the review about that being cut off and terminated. A PennDOT permit would be needed for that, but that is the plan to eliminate that access on 322. So you would have single access off the top road.
Yeah, because it's been that way
Yeah,
forever.
yeah, it's an improvement.
Yeah.
It's definitely an improvement to eliminate that access.
Do I hear a motion?
And that's in your review letter that they have to obtain that as part of.
Yes, PennDOT permit is, yes, I believe listed under salvo. Yes.
3 mentioned approval.
Yeah, it's actually noted under comments 7 and also 3 of the salvo review.
Do I hear a motion to grant the 4 waiver request? With conditional approval based on the BC recommendation letter
And the township engineers.
and the township engineers review letter dated January 1st.
Yeah, make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, item 6 on the agenda, land development 2024-1, land development plan at 3766 Horseshoe Pike. Demolishing the current single-family dwelling, replacing with a twin dwelling and commercial building.
Is anyone here for that plan tonight? I don't see them this evening.
We can still obviously discuss it if the board would like. This plan was also reviewed by the Planning Commission at their last meeting. If you're not familiar, this is the existing lot located on Horseshoe Pike, just adjacent to the borough. It has an existing dwelling unit on it already, up with a stormwater basin to the rear that serves an adjacent development, Starling Oaks. It's been in poor repair for some time. It's been proposed for a couple of different alternatives of development, but this particular one is proposing a commercial contractor shop and a twin duplex residential dwelling unit. Again, with parking, loading, unloading areas, stormwater management, and there's a new access drive onto 322. did go before the zoning hearing board. If you recall, you actually reviewed that and made recommendations to the zoning hearing board for several items of relief. One was to allow the twin-family duplex residence and the second principal use for the contractor shop. There was also zoning relief granted for the width of the lot itself. In addition, there was a special exception granted for encroaching into flood hazard district soils and encroachment into a margin area from a wetland buffer. So those zoning items were already granted by the zoning hearing board. The remaining items in the review letter, you can see, I can answer any questions that you have related to that. Obviously, this will have to go through sewer, water approvals, PennDOT, highway occupancy permit will be needed for the new access onto the state route. This is considered, one of our comments was related to a waiver to proceed as preliminary final. However, the Planning Commission saw fit to view this as a minor land development plan instead, and that review and recommendation for the waivers before you tonight are related to a review as a minor plan, which gives some flexibility for the landscaping requirements of the ordinance versus strict compliance with the landscaping in the ordinance. So, does anyone have any questions about the plan itself?
Yeah, in the meeting, and maybe I missed it, we spoke about a light being put up and about the access, the driveway.
Yes,
And-
yes.
and
I think one of the comments was related to, in Saldo, you have a requirement of a street light requirement. I believe the Planning Commission is in favor of having a light there to basically illuminate the intersection point.
They were saying something either across the street, or was there a decision on that, or is that?
From reading the minutes, and I wasn't at the meeting, so unfortunately I can't speak to the dialogue, but my understanding was that the applicant would be looking at putting a street light on their property at that intersection point so that they can illuminate the actual entrance point. And typically that is usually put outside of the right-of-way, that way it doesn't interfere with any PennDOT issues. But the lighting plan itself is also commented in the review. We would review the illumination plan, the shielding, make sure it's directed downward, but it would still provide illumination that someone coming in and out of there can see where the intersection is. As far as the recommended waivers are noted in February 23rd letter. They are as follows: to allow street intersection separation distance of less than 200 feet, provided PennDOT approves the HOP. The new driveway access actually encroaches in the driveway to inside the borough line. If you head west into the borough, the existing driveway there is within 200 feet. It's very close to 200 feet, but it's just shy of the 200-foot minimum requirement. However, the proposed point meets site distance, and obviously if it's acceptable to PennDOT, we would be in favor of granting that waiver. Section 618 is to only require sidewalk from the driveway entrance to the western property line. I believe that had a lot to do with the land preservation of the property to the east, which is agricultural right now. So it makes sense to provide a sidewalk on only one side. The next several are all related to stormwater, related to separation distance of 24 inches between bottom of infiltration facility and limiting zone. To allow infiltration facilities to be less than 25 foot from buildings and 10 feet from property lines. To allow infiltration facilities to exceed the BMP manual recommended loading ratio. And to allow a minimum 12-inch pipe diameter conveyance pipes. PennDOT will be involved in the review of those facilities because they will discharge into their drainage area. So ultimately, PennDOT will also have to be agreeable to the location of the stormwater facilities. So even though you may grant a waiver on that, it's conditioned upon compliance with the PennDOT criteria as well. And finally, there's a recommendation to grant conditional plan approval with the following conditions for landscaping: trees along 322 within the infiltration basin, between the twin dwelling and shop and along the rear paving edge behind the shop, and shrubs within the infiltration basin between the twin dwelling driveway and between the twin dwelling and main driveway. Those were some pretty specific requirements for landscaping that were recommended. Any questions related to this plan?
Sorry, do I hear motion to grant based on the township's engineer review letter and the PC recommendation.
We should do the waivers first.
Oh,
Or all in one combined motion.
Oh, sorry, the waivers and combined the conditional final plan, taking into consideration PC recommendations and the technical review letter.
I'll make the motion to grant.
All in favor?
Second. Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, section H, other new business. I don't think we have any other new business. Old business. Brandywine Hospital sale fell through.
Yes, I did include some, the PSATS resolutions that the Chester County Association of Township Officials submitted, few of which did address the issue of hospital closures. So I included those because I thought those were interesting, kind of near and dear to our hearts since 2 hospitals closed rather quickly in our county. So I just wanted to point that out. But the county commissioners are still working on a solution again. But the hope is that with perhaps some more legislation, that future abrupt closures would happen.
Thank you. Okay, J, open forum. Any other matter? We'll go with each side of the room again. Please be reminded you have 3 minutes to talk. Anyone on this side of the room have anything they'd like to say? Sure.
Hi, my name is Barbara Conway, 399 Hosp Drive, and I just want to comment about how the meeting, the February meeting ended, Alchemist, and I really feel that you should not have to feel defensive when a resident has a question, a comment, or a concern, and I think maybe it would help if you looked at it as fact-finding or insight. So some people are looking for ways for the township to save money within the budget, and that to me is something to be commended. Grants are an integral part of the budget's financing, so it's not unreasonable to ask about in-house grant writing since the previous manager wrote grants. And our manager, Warren, I liked your response when you said anything is possible. So that shows an open mind. So there's money in the budget for tuition reimbursement for an online course for that. So it doesn't need to come from an expensive 4-year university. So our manager, whoever, can be very good at it. And there are township managers who do write grants. So to me, it sounds like an excellent opportunity for professional development, but the decision will be up to the Board of Supervisors. I have one more comment. Jerry had brought up traffic concerns last month and the impact of fast growth and development on the township, which is also a valid point. So there's other concerns besides the roads, and there's other roads besides PennDOT. And so you are already aware of the rest of the impact on the community, on public services, Honeybrook Elementary Center, Twin Valley School District, and natural resources. So I found there's a website called American Planning Association, APA, and they have a publication for $10 PDF on managing strategic growth using lawful impact fees. So I just want you to remember that we're all in this together. Maybe not all residents aren't here participating at these meetings, but you know, we're all contributing through our taxes, our earned income tax, county, local, state. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Does anyone on this side of the room have anything they'd like to say?
I do. My name is Tom Borders, I'm at 258 Hudson Drive. I have a question concerning the treasurer's report from January. We had building permits in the amount of $55,407 that came in that month. That is 55% of the total budget for the year, with the monthly budget being $10,000. So we're $45,000 in receipt of building permits. Is this an aberration, or can we expect this trend to continue?
Yeah, we're not, I don't know what the budget was in January, so.
It's $10,000.
Okay, so why don't you email the question to our township manager, and he can look into it and respond back to you.
Okay. The second question. Who does the budget calendarization for the township?
You can add that question to your email.
But because it seems to me there's a very erratic allocation of month-to-month line items, both on income and expenses. So I'll put that question in. Last question. In the January expense ledger, there's a $12,929 budget expenditure versus a $3,000 annual budget for special legal expenses, and then it gets cut off. It's line item 404314. Can someone tell me what that's for?
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to include that in your email, because I don't believe any of us are prepared to answer that question.
Okay, it's an exceptional item for legal.
Right now.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Valerie?
Yeah, I just wanted to make the public aware, I was at last month's sewer authority meeting, and last year the sewer authority had applied for a grant to have the plant upgraded, and they did not get that approved. So a $12.6 million loan was applied for by the NCCMA, and Representative Dan Williams and Katie Move, Senator Katie Move, have given a letter of endorsement. So at the last meeting, the sewer authority approved a rate and topography study, which will be conducted over the next few months. And it will be open for public comment in May. They'll have it publicly advertised. And so if the public wishes to comment, I suggest that residents show up, because they're likely going to see a fairly significant increase in their quarterly bill for the sewer authority. It is scheduled to be a low-interest loan, about 1%, probably a 20-year loan, and there's about 2,600 residents currently on public sewer. So you can do the math and figure out if all the money came from just your sewer authority bill, that would probably amount to about a $60 a quarter increase, which for some people could be pretty significant, especially the borough when they're 100% on the sewer authority. So, thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else on that same side of the room? Karen?
Yeah, I have two questions. Everybody on the board says, you can meet it with me wherever you want to meet with me at, in my office, come here. Is that because you don't want it being recorded and videotaped for a response to get back so that, you could say, no, I didn't say that, I said this. Secondly, indicated that on your website, Facebook page, when you were running for the Board of Supervisors, that you were donating your pay to the food pantry, Honeybrook, wait a minute here, Honeybrook EMS, the fire company, Lions Club, etc. I contacted a few of these, and they have no clue as to what I was talking about. And I was just wondering, do you still stand to, with your word about donating your net, what does it say? Your net pay to the community?
Are you done?
Excuse me?
Are you done making comments?
I did, yeah.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
They didn't answer your question.
No, they never answered my question.
Why didn't you answer the question? She asked you questions. She expected an answer.
I got an email.
Do I hear a second?
What a supervisor does with the money they're entitled to isn't something that's part of this meeting appropriately. What they
But she still
mentioned
asked
in
the
campaigning is a political matter that's not the board's business. You can have private conversations about it. It's not part of this board's business.
It's not township, that's not a
That's a
township
personal matter.
action
He was
item.
running for supervisor.
It's a personal matter.
It's not.
No, that's what he was pledging against, when he was writing on.
All in favor?
Aye. You guys are a bunch of idiots.
Thanks for coming.
Professional behavior.
Yes.
Why don't you guys run for board and do something about it instead of sitting up there critiquing these guys all night?
Why don't you be quiet, because I'm not talking to you now, am I?
I haven't sit down and listened to you.
Well,
You don't have to listen to what I have to say. You can walk out.
What the hell are
Then walk out. I'm sitting there talking to you, walk out.
Okay.
How are you? I am. You only have to hear about this people, so I don't like her. And I'm not going to take it. So you guys can leave, stay here.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to talk to me. Don't talk to me. You don't want to talk to me either, so you guys can move on.
Well, maybe
All right,
it's like you supervisor where you work at.
They don't come.